All right. So plan for today, talk about values, beliefs, and principles, basically what guides your behaviors on a daily basis. And I guess the plan is or the premise is that if you clearly identify the foundation for these three pillars, basically, then that will help you make better decisions or clearer decisions on your daily life instead of relying on your feelings, right?
Sure.
Sometimes people say, I don't feel like studying, right? So they don't.
Yep.
But if you take a moment and look at their values, if they value like curiosity or hard work, those kind of things, then you can feel the disconnect between their values and the type of actions that they take. And so that disconnection might create enough energy for you to start studying, for example.
Okay, sure.
That makes sense, right?
Yeah, I do think most people probably fall on some kind of continuum. So which is probably a part of why they struggle more, because like they do value certain things, but then they value other things more. So you've got these like competing priorities.
Yep.
Yeah, but I still think I still agree with you. But I do think that the problem is like how highly they value certain things. I'm not saying it's a problem; it's just a different choice. But I put a very low value on certain things, which makes my decision making easier, as opposed to. I mean, like I don't know. Like, I don't know if I have like clarity about that other people lack, but I do place a very low value on certain things, like specifically like entertainment for myself, right? So
yeah,
by placing a lower value on something like that, it's easier for me not to watch TV, or it's easier for me not to do.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah, right.
And every time I hear you speak, honestly, you speak in a black or white most of the time, but you allow yourself to be wrong about those black or whites. But because you use black or white statement, this clarifies a lot of your decision process and actions that you're going to take, right? You put low value on entertainment. Like if I ask someone about this, maybe they wouldn't be able to put a value to this, right? But you already know this. And so let's look at values, for example, the first one.
Sure.
And like, do you have one value that you hold particularly high in your system, like in yourself? Like, is there one that comes to mind?
Yeah, I mean, I would say like intellectual honesty is probably like first and foremost, because it doesn't really matter how much you study if you lie to yourself.
Right.
So as far as a value goes, I want to make sure that I'm not fooling myself, right? That I'm not, and that's also because the consequences of that, I think, are the most significant in the way that I chose to make a living. So if you're not intellectually honest, it goes another way. Yeah. So like there are basically two extremes. You can be really optimistic and like massively overestimate yourself, which has like horrible consequences. And you could be, on the other hand, like really pessimistic and just like ridiculously negative about yourself, and that also has horrible consequences. So if you're too optimistic, then especially in poker, then you're going to play limits that are just way too high. You're going to have way too small of a bankroll, for example, in the games that you're grinding. And if you have if you don't have enough money and you play bigger than your skill set should allow for, you'll go broke. I mean, it's like a fact. It's like if you do this, then that will happen. Yep. So there aren't that many cause and effects, but that's one of like it's pretty reliable. And at the same time, if you're too negative, and if I think about myself, I'm probably biased towards being negative, but if you're too negative, then you'll never move up stakes. You'll never play in like really big games. You basically can't do this for a living. I mean, like if you're too negative, you'll just play too small. You won't take enough risks, and this will be horribly difficult because when you lose, which will inevitably happen, if you just tear yourself apart, that's just like not emotionally sustainable, and you should just go get a job. Like, yes, you want to take responsibility when you're losing and things are going bad and try to improve, but you want to also acknowledge that the reality is that the game you're playing has lots of volatility and losing is just a part of it. So yeah, I would say that like intellectual honesty is, as far as values go, is like for me one of the ones that I hold highest.
Yeah, and you've taken some time here to clearly express what does that mean to you, or how it what it looks like in your everyday life, but like, so how do you embody intellectual honesty on a daily basis? Like, do you have a reflective question to trigger that value in yourself? Like, how do you embody it?
So for me, it's when I'm from an experience perspective, when I'm coaching, there's just things I don't know. And I don't I don't try to pretend I know, which is something that a lot of people do. Like a lot of my students, they like to pretend that they know something. It's just very natural because you don't want to look like you don't know what you're doing or like you didn't have a reason for doing what you did. And like the real truth is you're just like, look, there were 3 possibilities, right? I could fold, raise, or call. And I didn't know which one to pick, so I threw a dart, right? And like that, and it landed on this one, so that's what we went with. That's the truth in a lot of situations, but people want to like make up some lie, like, which is, and I don't mean like in a critical way, but just like they make up some story, and the reality is I just have no clue. So when I'm analyzing poker hands, like I do a lot of my analysis through coaching, but just in general, like studying poker, whether it's coaching or going through sims on my own, or just reviewing my hands, I just look at something. I'm just like, to be honest, I just don't know, man. Like, and that could happen if I'm coaching somebody, and that could happen if I'm just reviewing my own play. I'm just like, I just look at it and I'm like, shit, I don't know. And then that's an impetus, like a trigger, a stimulus to like go figure out like the thing that I don't know.
Right.
So yeah, which kind of engages the student mentality, which we've talked about before. But yeah, you really like the student mentality can only get turned on really if like I look at something and I'm honest about the fact that like, yeah, like I don't really, like I don't know why this blocker matters so much here, or I don't know which blocker matters here. I don't know which blocker matters most, or I don't know where the line is to stop bluffing or start bluffing, or or whatever. I don't know how to best manage stress. Like you can take it outside of poker. Like I don't know how to best manage stress. Like I don't know like what practice, like when someone tells me to go relax, like what does that even mean? Like go relax, like go sit by myself in a room, like when it's dark, like go meditate and focus on my breathing, like go visualize like a really soothing place. Like what do you mean relax? Like people use the word like go relax, and it's like, what do you do to relax? And so like there are all these really basic things in poker, but also in life, where people casually say things, but they don't even know what they're talking about. Like lots of people, if you said, I think most people, they probably use the phrase go relax, or dude relax, like dude calm down, dude relax, like go relax, or take some time out, don't get so stressed about work, like slow down. But like if you say, okay, like what do you mean like go relax, like how do you want me to relax? Like they can't explain to you like a reliable way to like activate your parasympathetic nervous system and like actually calm down. So so I think that like most of the time just like acknowledging like how much you just don't know, and then being honest about it, and then that allows you to then like go get answers that are like going to make your life better,
and
or make your poker game better, whatever.
Yeah. And I don't know if you did this on like probably not consciously, but actually I feel like that's the best transition to talk about beliefs, right? So you have a value about intellectual honesty, and probably like just by the way you spoke in the last couple of minutes, I can already tell that one of your beliefs is that you know that you don't know everything, but you also know that you can figure stuff out, right? So like, would you say that's a belief of yours?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I believe that. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's quite interesting how you've also explained how basically that guides your behavior like almost all the time in your coaching, in your playing, where like maybe you want to talk about this a bit more and like tell me like how you do that or what you do about that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I just think I don't know, like this part maybe just comes naturally to me, but I think that's just the fact that it's 2021. So if maybe this is dated if you're watching this and we still have it on the site in 5 years or something, but if it's in 2021, if you want to get an answer, like to any question, like you can go get an answer, and that's an amazing thing, because it used to be just so hard. I mean, I remember like when I was a kid at home, and there was a pre-computer day. Like I didn't like grow up with a computer. I got one when I was like 13, 14, 15. Like my house got one when we were like 15 years old or something. So there was no computer. So like if you wanted an answer, it was just like go get a dictionary, go get a thesaurus. Like that was just brutal, man. Like that's, you get an answer and it's like you ask your parents and like they give you an answer and you're just like listening to them, like you don't know the answer either. Like so there's no answer. Like you're just sitting there and you're just like, well, I just don't know, and you're just stuck. And that's feeling's just terrible, and like it's like this like horrible friction that we've managed to get rid of. And so like I just try to take like maximal advantage of that. And there's basically like nothing, like there's no question or problem that I don't feel like I can solve, which is like really cool. Now that doesn't mean that you can't give me like a really technical program question at like the end of a discipline that I can't answer. Like obviously you could give me like some math problem that's like, you know, some kind of differential equation type thing where I can't solve it. But there's no like practical question that deals with like the level of knowledge that's accessible to like most humans that I can't get an answer for. Like you can Google it, but even more than Google, like you can read like the scientific studies, like those are accessible. They get published on the internet. I read scientific studies all the time. I'm a dork, but like I do. So like you can read white papers and like it could be about investments and like, you know, you could find out like what investment firms are like are the most successful, make the most money. And so you can look at like private equity groups where their whole business is just allocating capital. And then they publish white papers all the time and they have like annual reports and they have quarterly conference calls where they explain what they're doing. And like, you can just read all this stuff. It's free. And you can do the same thing, you know, with poker. We've obviously got bbzpoker.com, but like, you know, there are other places you can go. And with there's Google, obviously. And like the information is just like, it's just all right there. So like there's no, like you don't have to take anybody's word for it. Like if you know if somebody says something, you're just like, I don't know if that's right. It's like ding 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 ding. Oh shit, he's wrong. Like, you know, it just takes that. It's just that easy. And yeah, so like, and I don't take things for granted, which I think that the problem that I used to have. So like, I'll speak about me. Like the problem that I used to have, or the problem that you start out with, is that you have to do so much in life without actually knowing what you're doing. So like when I first started playing poker, like I had to play whether I knew or not. Like if I was going to play, I had to, you know, if I was going to try to make a living, I had to play. I didn't really know how to play. And like I said, I didn't start out with like knowing how to relax and like knowing how to calm down. And like you just don't start with these things. Like you have to learn them. And there's a best way, or like there are like really good ways to do all of the things that that should really be like eating, for example, like nutrition. You know, even doctors don't really get a proper training in nutrition. If you actually study nutrition, you study like healthcare, doctors, like nurses, they don't really understand nutrition at all. Like nutritionists, like professional, you know, people in nutrition, they do, but other people really don't. So studying nutrition, like just so that you're putting in like, you know, should I eat, you know, cashews or hazelnuts, or should I eat like what, you know, like so that you can just make the same small choices like on a high ROI basis for you on a repeated basis. Most of us don't, including me, like most of us don't know how to eat. Like you eat all the time, you still have to do it. But like you probably, if you really honestly assess, like, you know, where there's like a way that eats and like optimizes your energy levels and fuels your body and like makes you sleep, get the best possible sleep you can possibly get from a nutrition perspective. If that's like the like up here, like most of us, and like this is the floor, like right down here, like most of us are down here, like most of us have no idea like how to optimize that. And that's crazy because you eat all the time, but you just have no idea how to do it properly. So like, and then you can go on from like each thing, but like, I don't know, like I'm blessed with like the idea that like I suck at everything, but I can get better at everything.
What a strong belief.
Honestly. So like it's fun too, because then like there's just, it's like someone's like, I'm bored, and I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you? Like, how are you bored, dude? Like you suck at everything. I'm not trying to be an asshole. I'm just like, you're so bad at all this stuff, and getting better at it would make your life so much better. And it's like right in front of you, and you're just doing nothing. You're bored. Like, what are you talking about? Like, get out of the way. I'll go. You're bored. Okay, fine. Move. And like, I'll let me go. And I'm never bored. Like ever. I'm never bored. I go to my in-laws' house and I bring a book. I might even bring 2 books. And like, I don't plan on reading them, but like, if I get bored, like if like they're engaged in conversation that I can't understand or like whatever, I'll just like duck out, go fucking read. Like, I really don't care. Like, I don't have the social pressure to like appease people. Like if there's a conversation where I know I can't contribute at all, I'm not going to sit there and like not contribute. I'll just like opt out and go like read. So like at its core, there's like a really deep-seated belief that I suck at almost everything that I do all the time, but there is just like there's a room for improvement, and it's really easy to improve. Like you would be amazed. Like, first of all, like how long does it take you to read like a book? Maybe it takes you 2 weeks to read a book. how many books do you have to read on nutrition before you really know a lot about nutrition? Like 4, 3, 5, maybe? Like you'll know a lot after 3. And you'll go, if you read 1, you'll know so much compared to what you knew when you were at 0. Like it's such low hanging fruit. It's so easy. So, and it's fun, right? Like it's exciting. So like that's kind of how I think about it.
Is that something you've been reading about lately? Sounds like
Nutrition?
you're passionate about nutrition. Yeah.
I mean, like I stopped. What happened is I mean, first, so there's nutrition, but there's also like kind of like anxiety and stress and stuff. Like my wife's actually struggling. She's got a visit with a cardiologist because she's just been, her heart's just like going, like shooting through the roof and then like going back. She's really struggling. And as a result of like that, which has been going on for a while, like that's kind of pushed me in a different direction as far as like where I'm focusing my energy. So I've been doing more study of like, anxiety, stress, how to manage both, and as well as nutrition, but then also like cardiology, actually. Like I've just been reading a lot about like the human heart and trying to understand more. And then also I've read an awful lot about business, and I've read an awful lot about investing in money. And I've read awful lot about retirement. And the EV of me reading like the next book that's like that is very low,
right?
Because I've read so many. It's like, you know, like if I read a poker book, I'm like, usually like if it's really good, I'm like, wow, that was really good, and then I'm like, you know, move on. There's nothing like wow, it's just
groundbreaking.
Like, yeah, it's like that was a really good book. Maybe there's like a few things, you know, in particular, if they present information in a unique way, that can be cool, because like then I can learn a lot about like just like presenting information to like my students or something like that can be really cool because you don't see that as much. So that can be that, but mostly it's not easy. And the same thing would be true for ape styles. Like we've just studied so much. Like we still learn stuff. Like sometimes if there's a new program that comes out and it's like revolutionary, like that'll have a huge impact. Like before Simple 3-Way, when I was like just working off of paper and like my own math-based ideas for like how multi-way pots should work, that was all theory. And then you get a solver, Simple 3-Way, and then you get to just be like, this is how it works, see? And it's like, holy shit, okay, awesome. So then you get to learn a lot. And one of our cash game coaches, is going through that process right now because he hasn't really studied multi-way. And he and I are like working together. I'm helping a little bit with like some multi-way pot stuff. So so that's so the question was like around, you know, like nutrition and me studying nutrition and like, I'm studying a lot of things, but I'm also not studying poker as much. Like I'm running sims, I'm doing my normal, that part of it, but I don't have to read poker books, and I'm not studying investing, and I'm not studying money, and I'm not reading business books. So I can go through a lot of books in like a relatively short time frame if all the other stuff, if I switch stuff off, right?
Yeah. I think that comes back to what you value most in that moment, or what's more important to you. And something you've slightly mentioned near the end of like this discussion was about how you have to deliver this information to the players that you coach. And I feel like this is kind of related to this idea of building principles, right? So when you think about a principle, it's basically this kind of foundation for a set of behaviors or for a system that like would be applicable to in a specific environment. So if we take poker, if you've created a principle that is applicable in many situations in poker, then you've kind of facilitated your decision making at the tables. And without it being specific to decisions in poker, like technically, but like general principles about poker, like what comes to mind for you, or what kind of principles you use on a daily basis?
So in-game principles, or
not necessarily in-game, but I guess let me give you an example, because this is something that you've said in the past that I found it's quite popular. It's anchored to the things that you can control. So basically focusing on the controllables. That's like a principle that actually has been proven to work well in poker, because focusing on things you don't control, you're just spending energy nowhere. So what speaks to you about principles in poker?
So it's still, even with the example where you're saying focus on things you can control, it's difficult for me to tease it out from like actual in-game decisions. But the main thing for me is to think about, like, one of the main ways I think about poker, like the biggest idea I have is to think about poker in like in a probabilities based way, or like in a math based way. And what that means is you get very comfortable with like being wrong, and get very comfortable with losing, because that's kind of like the very so some people have an approach to no limit, or an approach to poker, which is like very perfection oriented. Almost like I would say the majority of people have a very like perfection oriented approach to poker. Like Phil Hellmuth is like the classic example, where like he plays a hand and then he loses the hand, and then he's like, oh, I should have known, like he had, he does this thing with his hands. He like always throws them up like this.
Right.
Like, I should have known this guy I should have known he had like the ace queen. He did this and he did that, and like, and I just give it to him or whatever, right? And that's very like perfection oriented way of playing poker. That's really not, which is like kind of crazy in my opinion, but like, hey, everybody does their own thing. He's richer than I am. So, it's like he's trying to like nail it. Like he's trying to nail it, which is like basically shows like a discomfort with like probability, and accepting the fact that like, look, if you go to the casino and you play blackjack, I have no idea what the edges are, by the way, so this is bullshit math, but let's just say like the house has like a 55% edge on like the average Joe that walks in, right? And like the average Joe has a 45% edge when he comes in. Like that guy's going to win money a bunch, and that's totally fine. Like 45% of the time he's going to win. That's damn near half. And like 55% of the time he's going to lose. And if he sits there for long enough, yeah, he's going to lose. But, on a hand-by-hand basis, and certainly on like a big bet by big bet basis, the house has a 55% edge, and that means losing 45% of the time. I'm totally good with that. Like if I'm the house there, I'm great. Like, let's go. But Phil Hellmuth's not. Like, I mean, like he might say that he is, but you can just tell with the way that he approaches poker, the way he talks. I did this little hand thing yet. Like the way that he approaches poker, it's so perfectionist oriented that like it's a real discomfort with losing. Like it really bothers him. He really wants to nail like every single hand. And I really don't. Like I really, really don't. Like I'm really happy with like reshoving queen jack suited in the small blind for 35 bigs and the button has kings. I'm just like, all right, my play's good. Have a nice life. Like next tournament. It's like, dude, that was $25,000. And I'm like, it was also the best play. Like, as far as I'm concerned, I really don't care that he had kings. Like it doesn't matter. Or like I'm really comfortable with like making a bluff for like 3x pot on the river when my opponent's range is capped, and like I shove with like the like a no showdown value bottom end perfect blocker type of hand, and I get snapped by a set, and I'm just like, all right, like I thought you were capped. I guess I was wrong. Like I made a mistake. Like I don't care. It's fine. Whatever. Go to the next one. And or like he just hero calls me. Like he hero calls. He's like bottom pair. And I'm just like, well, I had the right blockers, and like you were capped, and you knew you were capped. So you like, maybe you called, if I bet 3x spot, maybe you called with 25% of your bluff catchers, and this one you thought was in there. So fine, like nice hand. On to the next one. Like it's okay. That's because I'm comfortable. Like that's because I have like a framework for how I think about the game that's like very math based. And to me, like the goal is to like be the casino. Like that's the whole point, is to like make decisions that win you small amounts of money on a probability adjusted basis. And like, that's it. And I'm not trying to play like some perfect game.
Yeah, basically your principles there is like make the best decision possible, or like make plus EV decisions. And like on the long run, on a long enough time frame, you're going to be rewarded. That's kind of a principle in and of itself.
Yeah, and it's a belief too. Like I just believe that that'll work. Like some people, like the problem is like they lose for a little while and they're just like, oh my god, it's not working. And it's like, look, bro, like the long run can take a long time. Like you can lose, it's like I said, 55-45. Like it can go, you can go a while at 55-45 with losing. And at the same time, you got to be real careful that you're in the 55 seat and you're not in the 45 seat, because if you're in the 45 seat, then that's you making some mistakes, right? So that's back to that kind of intellectual honesty, like self-awareness, if you want to call it that. Like you just have to, you just have to be in the right games. So all of that matters, and it's all kind of related. So that's why it's easy to tie it together, I think, because it all kind of reinforces one another in terms of
exactly. So you can build on one or the other, and I'm just trying to see like, as I was preparing our conversation and like thinking about this, I just opened my Twitter and I saw like one of the posts from BBZ Poker, and it started again with a principle, which was like treat every hand as the most important ones. Like I don't remember what it was, but I feel like every time I read something about BBZ poker, it always starts from a principle idea, like a first principle, like this is how you should approach poker. This is how you should see poker. And that's super useful to build a framework where you can make your decisions afterwards, because you have this kind of rule that's the foundation of your decision making, of the rationale behind your decisions afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, that's just true about the way that like that's who I am. So that's the way that the organization is kind of like bred, all of us, coaches, everybody, because I'm the root or whatever of BBZ. And like what I'm looking for is one idea to do a lot of heavy lifting. It's really just that simple. I just want one thing to do as much heavy lifting as possible. It won't always work. It's not physics. So, like in physics, it'll always work. Like, it's not gonna be like that. Like, if you drop the ball, then if you hold the ball here and then you let it go, it'll fall to the floor. Like, it's never going to fly up. Like, it's never going to happen. But, I'm not looking for physics type precision. I'm just looking for something that does a lot of heavy lifting. So like you can find situations where like it looks like MDF is, like in game, like where MDF is breaking down, or you can find things where, you can find examples in life where like, being too focused ended up costing someone like a bunch of opportunities because they could only see this one thing. And if they just broadened their horizon a little bit, then they would have seen that like right over here was a better idea. Being disciplined to some extent, it has trade-offs. Like you can miss out on like, like maybe I miss out on like some really cool movies or something. Like somebody values that really highly. I don't, but like that's understandable. Like different life choices. So I'm not saying any of this stuff's free, but you can get a lot of juice out of certain ideas. And again, they don't always work, and that's fine. The whole point of it is to get better at doing it. And if it always worked and it was always like input output, there would be no skill, because it would just be always. But the skill is like in understanding like the shades of gray and the nuances, and like when is this thing that I think is applicable, like when is it really not applicable?
Right.
So, like in from an MDF perspective, like if you think like MDF always applies, like go look at the flop and then go, look at like, ace and king high boards and 3-bet pots out of position. Like you're gonna the guy bets to a 30% size, full percentage, there would be like 75%. 30% size would be 77%. Sorry, it's 30. It's a 30% size, have a 77% BPIP, 23% fold, and then but on a king high flop where you're out of position in a 3-bet pot, the full percentage might be like 60%. And so it's like, how do you understand the spread between 23 and 60? Like that's the whole point, is that like it's not always 23. Like sometimes it's 23 and sometimes it's 60. So the skill is knowing when to do, to apply which one or the other one. But the MDF idea will apply in like 98% of situations, 97% of situations, 95% of situations, with maybe some subtle tweaks that I could also explain if this was a poker focused video.
Right.
But yeah, like, that's this, I want the same thing out of like life ideas. Like I don't want something that like always works. It just needs to work a lot.
Exactly.
If it works a lot, then we're good.
It becomes plus EV as soon as it works a lot, or the majority of the time.
And you get to learn the nuances. You get to figure out like, when does this flavor like not, when does this flavor suck? When do I need something else to make this taste good? And like that's like I said, that's the skill of the whole thing. Like salt's great, but you don't want it in cake, so like that's the way it is.
Yep. I feel like this is a good point to wrap up with this analogy of salt and cake, but yeah.
Sure.
Let's try to wrap things up, summarize this. So basically, you can save time, you can save effort, you could save energy by acting based on values, based on beliefs that you have, or that you can create about yourself. We've spoken about this in the other video, where if your belief system is harmful to you, maybe you could start building a new one where you act the way someone that is disciplined, for example, would act. So you take the actions that someone would be disciplined, and then you develop this belief about yourself. Or I know like we both love to read, but if someone tells me I'm not a reader, I'm just going to tell them, just read a page a day and come back to me in a couple of months. You're going to say you're a reader now because you'll have a couple of books read. So this idea of building your belief system. And finally, just thinking in terms of principles, that's probably where the lowest hanging fruit is in terms of amount of effort versus results that you can get out of those principles. So yeah.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, it was awesome.
Cool.
Good summary.
Yeah.
Sweet. All right, bud. Speak soon.
Ciao.